So, it's come to my attention that some of the group doesn't know how to make a character from scratch. And I'm always here to help, always whenever the group needs it. But what I want is I want the group to understand the methodology behind it. I don't want them to be stuck with, just me holding their hand, dragging them through the mud, making them feel stupid. Because that seems to be a raising concern about this, is that people are coming out of this feeling stupid. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to sit down and I wanted to discuss the idea of making a character the way that I make a character. And this thing's a wonderful tool for that, but I personally don't like the way that it tells people to make characters. Like, the first thing it tells you to do is to pick a race. Who starts their character by picking a race? That's racist. What I do, what I start with, this is my list of the way that I do it, is I come up with an idea. Like, I think, what do I want to play? Completely ignoring the rules of D&D, not thinking of classes, not thinking of backgrounds, not thinking of races, just what do I want to play? And it can be a vague idea. Your concept could be, I want to be a knight shining armor. Your concept could be, I want to play Legolas from Lord of the Rings. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk step by step, making a character the way that I make a character. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring out one of the old characters that I used to make, named Simon. Simon, con man. Simon is a storyteller, he's a yarn spinner, he's manipulative, he's everybody's friend. And the idea is that Simon doesn't want to get his hands dirty. Simon, deep down, is afraid. Like, he doesn't want to be in danger, he doesn't want to go to jail, he doesn't want to get in trouble. So, Simon manipulates other people to do it for him. So I sit there and I think, now that I have a concept, now that I have an idea of what do I want to play, I start thinking in D&D terms, and I think, okay, what kind of class would Simon be? Now, if Simon ever was willing to get his hands dirty, I'd think rogue. But since Simon never wants to actually be involved, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him a bard. So, now that I have a basic concept, what I'll do is I'll move to statistics. Anybody that plays at any table will tell you how to roll statistics differently. Some people will use standard array, some people will use roll 3 6s. Personally, I like my characters, my players, to be heroic. Like, I want them to be the best. I want them to stand out. I want them to be different. So, what I have my players do is I have you guys roll 4d6. And this is where there's confusion, so I'm going to go through it step by step. You roll 4d6. You take out any ones that you rolled. I rolled a 1 in that. And you roll it again. Okay, so now you have 4 numbers. In this situation, I rolled a 5, a 6, and that reroll came up to a 2. So I ignore the lowest number, which was the 2. Add the 5, and the 6 together gives me 16. So, one number, 16. So we have 5, 6, 5, 2. We ignored the 2. We added the other 3 together, 16. And then I repeat that process for each stat. These dice don't like me. Or they really, really like me. So we get a 6, a 6, a 6, and a 5. So we ignore the 5, we have an 18. And we repeat the process. And again, with the 1s. Alright, so we have a 6, a 6, a 4, and a 2. Ignore the 2, we have 14. Repeat the process. Reroll the 1s. Reroll the 1s. There we go. So this time we have a 4, a 4, a 5, and a 3. We'll ignore the 3, we have 13. Hey, for 1s and 1s. However, they are terrible numbers. So we have a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 2. So we ignore the 2, we have a 9. And I do this 7 times. That way you have all 6 totals plus 1. 5, 5, 3, and a 2. Another 2, we have another 13. So that's 6, right? So one more time. Roll the 1s. Get a 5 and 3 2s. So we'll ignore one of the 2s and we have another 9. So we lose the lowest number, which is a 9. And that's the stats we have. We have 16 and 18, 14 and 13 and 9 and a 13. Whew, that took longer than I thought it would. So we know that Simon's a bard. So his most important statistic is his charisma. That's going to get the 18. So that's the 18 gone. Why? Well, because bards use charisma for everything. They use it for their spellcasting. It's their primary modifier. He's going to talk a lot of shit. He's going to do a lot of bluffing. He's going to do a lot of that kind of stuff. He needs to be very charismatic. And what we'll say is because he's a coward, he runs a lot. So his next highest will go on his dexterity. That's the 16. And from there we'll look at his other stats, which aren't that great. We'll put a 14 in his constitution. We'll throw the 13s in his other intel-based stats, his intellect, and his wisdom, so that he's got decent saving throws, and then we'll dump stat strength with the 9. Now, something that comes up a lot when I do stats, well, that hasn't happened in a while. When I do stats with the group is modifiers. Everybody doesn't seem to quite get them. So in the front of the PHP, if you have the PHP or you have a PDF of the PHP, you'll find a chart that tells you how to do the modifiers. But there's a really basic formula for it. You take the number, for the sake we'll do his strength, 9. You minus 10, which gives us a negative 1. And you divide it in half, which gives us a negative 0.5. And then you round down. So that gives him a negative 1 modifier in his strength. Because you can't put a decimal into a strength modifier. Come on now. Minus 1. So his next stat is a 16. Same thing, 16 minus 10, 6, divide it in half, 3. Okay. Next up is 14 minus 10 is 4, divide it in half, 2. Come on now. 2. 13 minus 10 is 3, divide it in half, 1.5, round down is 1. That goes into both the next two, because they're both 13s. And then his last stat is an 18, minus 10 is 8, divided in half is 4. Now, these can change. Obviously, as you're working on the character, you will get stat adjustments from your race primarily, but you may also take certain other concepts that will give adjustments as well. If you play the human variant, you get a feat, and feats sometimes adjust statistics. So anyway, working down our list, we've got ideas, we've got stats. Next up is our race. There's two ways to do this. You can look at your story-wise, and you can think, okay, who racially fits the concept I want to go? Like, if you were taking the I want to be Legolas from Lord of the Rings idea, you would obviously take an elf. I don't really have an idea for Simon. Simon is a live life loose kind of guy, but he's also a little bit in the land of evil, so he doesn't quite fit the halfling. My thoughts are maybe gnome, because gnomes can be diabolical. But then I want to think, okay, what helps him statistically? Like the big buff you get from your race is the change in your stats. And I think charisma buffs come from tieflings. So let's take a quick look, take a quick gander at the old tiefling. Tiefling increases the charisma score by 2, which would let him max his charisma at level 1. So that seems like a really good idea. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and make him a tiefling. I think that's the race button. Tiefling. So the first thing the tiefling gives him is an ability score increase of his charisma by 2 points. Now, if you follow the formula, instead of it being an 18, it's now 20 minus 10. It's 10 divided in half is 5. And that's the most you can come out of the gate with, right? The way the game is designed, they don't want you to have more than a 20 in a stat at the beginning of the game. Because theoretically you can't, right? 3 6s comes out to 18 plus 2, which is the most you'll get from a racial, is 20. And then his intelligence increases by 1. So that becomes a 14. And because of that, this also moves up to a 2. Right. So, tieflings age like humans. And there are plenty of places you can find age charts. Like if you wanted to randomize. Not going to make you, you know, it's not that important. Let's see, age. Let's make him eligible to drink. Because to me, that's not really all that important until we get into things like, can you drink? And do you get the senior coffee? This is medium, which is normal for a PC race. Player characters usually aren't bigger than medium. Sometimes they're smaller, you know, your halflings, your dwarves, your gnomes, your kobolds, your goblins. Lots of options for little people. So we get some movement speed. This is speed. Base movement speed is 30. It's pretty basic. Again, for a medium creature, 30 feet. More than 30 feet is something you usually get from class ability or racial ability. Less than 30 feet is usually caused by being small in size. So, now we start looking at the actual racial features. First thing for tieflings is dark vision. Is dark vision. No, there it goes. It's dark vision. Out to 60 feet, pretty base. Common mistake players make with dark vision is not, you don't see in the dark. You see better than most things do in the dark. The way I like to put it is like, imagine your bathroom lights on upstairs and you're in the basement. Or that might work too. You have lights on upstairs and you're in the basement. The basement is visual-ish, like it's grayscale, it's dark, there's lots of shadows. You can still see, but not as well as you could if you actually had light. Next up for them is Hellish Resistance, which is pretty basic. It's just fire resistance because they have a demonic heritage. In case I didn't cover that earlier when I said I was picking tiefling, tieflings are just demon people. This is one of the points where we seem to run into an issue. People say they get caught up in the choices. And if need be, I can make more time, I can sit down and I can talk about just the races. But for now, I just want to try and run through character creation. After that, they have their Infernal Legacy, which allows them to learn allows them to learn a cantrip. Thaumaturgy. And that lets them play with fire, pretty much. And at later levels, they'll gain other ones. 3rd level, they gain the Hellish Rebuke spell, and 5th level, they get the Darkness spell. But starting off with, they just get the Thaumaturgy cantrip. For base languages, they know Common, because everybody knows Common, and Infernal, language of the demons, which again makes sense. You know, they're demonic spawn. Okay, and that covers everything you get from being a tiefling. Going through PHP, picking your race. We have supplement books. Wizards has put out Volo's Guide to Monsters, Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. Lots and lots of options for races. Even a couple of them, the modules have put out, like Prince of the Apocalypse has the Gen size. So anyway, that covers races. So then we go to backgrounds. Backgrounds, in their basis way, are what did your character do before they decided they wanted to adventure for a living? Because you've got to realize, it's like, these guys are not people that sit at home. They're not guys that have a 9-to-5 job. These are guys that are going to travel and tomb raid and fight the good fight against the things out in the world. And you could think of it this way: it was like, it's, I don't know how to put it, but it's what they did before they came here, before they became adventurers. Quickest and easiest one, and the obvious answer for Simon, is going to be Charlatan. No other one even a little bit makes sense for him. So, background is getting covered. There we go, background. Apologize if I'm making typos because the keyboard is so far away from the computer, it may not be detecting all of my keystrokes, and I really, honestly, cannot read what that says. Okay, so the Charlatan is obviously the Charlatan. He's the con man. He's the guy who goes around and he tricks people. He runs scams. He does things, stuff. So again, we go into PHP and we find the things that you get for being a Charlatan. They gain proficiency in deception. I want to say it's that one, Eddie. That's deception. Boop. Hang on, I got a way I can cheat this. Yep, definitely deception. Okay. And then they also gain sleight of hand. That one's pretty easy to pick out because the only one went 3 words. Ha 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 ha. They gain proficiency in a disguise kit and a forgery kit, which we can discuss in inventory when we get to that. And that's next, right? Almost next. We'll get to it in a minute. Free equipment that they get. They get fine clothes. They get the disguise kit. They get the tools of the con of their choice. So that's where we come into picking your con, right? Now, he's not looking to get in trouble. So his con's probably going to be to pass himself off as somebody higher than who he is, right? So we go through the scams. We have cheating at games, forging of documents, taking out other people's lives, easily slipping in and out of identities, you know, street tricks, and of course, you know, the snake oil guy. The biggest one that he's probably going to do is he's going to be able to slip in and out of people's, or slip in and out of identities. Like, he doesn't want people to be able to track who he is. Nobody's going to know him as Simon. Like, that's not going to be his name in any social circle. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the choices, which are snake oil, weighted dice, marked cards, or a signet ring of an imaginary duke. And that one, I think, is probably what he would have. And then 15 gold. We go up here. And I want to say this one's gold. 15. And then he gains the false identity feature. God, I hope I'm spelling that right. That probably has 2 T's on it. 3 T's? 2 mini T's. So then we look at the personality traits, and these are great. As usually it's 6 to 8 options you can pick from, or if you can't pick, you can roll a die, right? So we look at personality traits. I'm looking through them. I like the liar. The liar seems like a good option because he's got sucker for love, bad joker, overuse of flattery. Actually, that's something I'll take. I'll take overuse of flattery. Overuse of flattery seems like a good option. Let's see. We'll write it as the book writes it. Flattery is my preferred trick to get what I want, and it didn't detect any of that. Not even a little bit. Oh, there it is. To get what I want. Alright. So then we go down to his ideals. We have free spirit. Never target people who can't afford to lose. Distribute the money amongst the people who need it. Never run the same con twice. Bonds of friendship are forever, or determined to make something of himself. Let's go with that one. Determined to make something of himself. I didn't mean to put the caps lock on. Turn that off. All right, bond. Fleece the wrong person. Make sure the individual never crosses me. Everything to my mentor. Somewhere out there I have a child who doesn't know me. Come from nobles. Powerful person killed me. Killed someone I love. Swindled and ruined a person who didn't deserve it, and I seek to atone. None of these really fit him. I don't like it. He doesn't really have any bonds. You know what? I could play with that one. We'll play with this one. Powerful person killed someone I love. One day I'll have my revenge. And his flaw. I definitely like the can't resist swindling people who are more powerful. But what I'm going to do... Oh, here we go. This is perfect. Hate to admit it to myself, but I will run and hide to preserve my own hide. That's perfect. I like that one. I like that one a lot. So that's backgrounds. That covers everything you get from the charlatan background. That covers your personality traits, your bonds, your flaws, your ideals, some of your capabilities. So then we go to class. And if you notice, I'm kind of going through this partially the way they would go through life, right? Like I rolled up the stats. These are your base physiques. These aren't, some of these are from training, but most of these are just like, this is basically who you are. But you're born into your race, you have your background, and then you take on your class, right? So Bard. Bards are the storytellers, the musicians. They use the arts to inspire, to combat the darkness, more or less. So at level 1, the first thing you look at with your class is your hit points. So you get maximum hit points at level 1 instead of having to roll the die. So the Bard has 8 hit points, plus his Constitution modifier, which is a 2. So Simon will start with 10 hit points. He will know how to use simple weapons. He will know how to use hand crossbows. He will know how to use long swords, rapiers, and short swords. And he can wear light armor. And he would know how to play 3 instruments of his choice. We'll say the lute, the flute, and the spoons. Because you never know when you're going to need to know how to play the spoons. So we come up here and you pick out your, well, you don't pick out, you get your statistic bonuses, your proficiencies. He's going to be proficient in charisma. Good button, thank you. And dexterity. Thank you. And he gets to pick 3 skills of his choosing. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do persuasion. We're going to do performance. And we're going to do deception. Oh, he already knows deception. Let's do... Is that all the charisma ones? That is all of the charisma ones. Let's do stealth, because he's a hider. Okay. So then we look at what he gets for actually being a bard. First level, most player characters, including the bard, will have a proficiency bonus of 2. Now, where does this come into play? Proficiency bonus is added in any skill that you have proficiency in. So let's take Simon for example. If he had to do something athletic, he had to do something strength-based, he's not proficient in it, right? So he would just roll, he would add a strength modifier, which is unfortunately a -1, and that would be his stat. Now, reverse that, if he's trying to persuade somebody of something, or he's trying to deceive somebody, what he's going to do is he's going to roll the die, he's going to add his modifier for that, so let's say in the deceive, he's going to add his charisma modifier, which is a 5, and then he's also going to add his proficiency modifier because he is proficient in the act. So he would basically add 7 to any time he attempted to deceive somebody, which is pretty great, because that means the lowest he can roll is a 9, which is pretty damn close to passing on those things. So at level 1, we talk about spells for bards. Bards get spells. Bards get 2 cantrips. They know 4 spells, and then they gain 2 first level slots. So keep that stuff in mind for later. We do spells last. I always do spells last because spells take the longest. But for his spell statistics, of course, he is a bard. His spellcasting ability is charisma, which in this situation is a +5. His spell DC. Okay, so your spell DC is the number 8, plus your charisma modifier, which in this case is a 5, plus your proficiency modifier. So that comes out to, in this case, 15. And then your spell attack modifier is just your spellcasting ability modifier, 5, and your proficiency modifier, 2. So that's a 7. So the only ability that bards get at level 1 is Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration allows the bard to inspire a creature within 60 feet of themselves to gain a die 6. And they can use this die 6 on anything. Anytime they roll the die, they can add it. They can then roll the d6 and add that number to the die. So if you're making an attack roll, you roll the 20, you miss, you say, I'm going to use my inspiration, you roll that d6, and you hit. And that's it. That's everything you get from Bard at level 1. Obviously, you get more things later on, but for right now, that's it. That's all you get from being a Bard. So then we go to inventory. Personally, I'm not a big fan of using the here's X number of gold, spend it however you want thing. Some players are. I'm not a big fan of it because really you get more from using the starting gear. Although it's not quite as personalized, you get more. Okay. So the first pick they get is their melee weapon. And they're allowed to pick between a rapier, a longsword, or any other simple weapon. Basically, the rapier is the go-to weapon of the bard. You can see that A is capitalized. And then they've got their pack, which is either the Diplomat's pack or the Entertainer's pack. Packs we'll come back to. He gets an instrument of his choosing. I'm going to choose the flute because it's small, easy to hide, and he's not going to bash somebody over the head with it. Not that kind of guy. And then leather armor and a dagger. So, rapier. Did it again. Leather armor and the dagger. And then we'll come back to the packs in a second because I have to choose between Entertainer or the other thing that I forgot what it was all of a sudden. So, dagger. Wonderful. So then we go to the rest of the inventory, right? Because we have to get the information from the rapier, we have to get the information from the dagger, we have to get the information from this, we have to get the information from that, blah, 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 blah. I'm babbling. Okay, so most armor, except for the heavy stuff, allows you to use your dex modifier, or a portion of your dex modifier. Light armor allows you to use all of your dex modifier. That's why it's good for agile classes that take lots of dex. Mid-level armor allows you to use a portion of your dex, so this is for kind of dexy classes, and then there are dump dex statted classes that want to take the super heavy-duty armor. You know, warriors, warriors, clerics, you know, guys that have to focus on other things to be good at doing what they do. So, leather armor is a light armor. It's only worth 1 point. All creatures have a natural armor of 10. That's natural, unadulterated human hide. So leather gets you up to an 11. But he also has a 3 in his dexterity. So that gets him up to 14. Isn't that great? We got a 14. So then we look at the rapier. The rapier is a D8, or an 8-sided die of piercing damage. Correct? Yes. And the dagger is a D4, or 4-sided die of also piercing damage. But it comes with a caveat, it can also be thrown 20 yards or 60 yards with disadvantage. That covers that, right? Like, we have to look at the packs. Now, if you look in your PHP, you'll find a chart that covers the sub bits of packs. There are multiple different kinds of packs, he was allowed to choose between the Diplomats pack and the Entertainers pack. For him, gonna go ahead and pick the Entertainers pack. So, what comes in an Entertainers pack? Let's talk about it. It comes with a backpack. It comes with a bedroll. It comes with 2 costumes. It comes with 5 candles. Oh, yeah. Comes with 5 days of rations. Yeah, stop doing that to yourself, Justin. Water skin. And the disguise kit, which he already has, so we're not going to write that down twice. And that covers that. So what does that leave? Well, it leaves spells. So we go back to Bard, because I've already forgotten, because I'm terrible at this. And it's 3 cantrips, 2 cantrips, 4 spells. So your cantrips don't count against your spells, right? Cantrips are just spells that you know. He knows Thaumaturgy freely because he is a Titan. That doesn't count against his 2. So he gets 2 additional. What I'm going to take is I'm going to take Minor Illusion, because this helps for everything, and then I'm going to take Friends. Okay, why did I take those 2? Well, Minor Illusion is going to help him talk his way out of things. It's also a really fun thing that's going to let him do storytelling. Like, this is the kind of thing that lets him hide his face in darkness. This is the kind of thing that lets him make his stage shows more than what they are when he's spinning a story. You know, it helps with his intimidation, it helps with his persuasion, you know. If the mood, it sets the mood for what he's trying to do. And then Friends is literally a magic spell that tells people that you guys are friends. It's literally like, hey, we're buddies, how you doing? Let's go do stuff. And I like that. It's crazy. So it's one of those things is like when he can't do it without magic, he can fall back on the magic. And that's the same thing we're going to do here. We're going to do Charm Person. We're going to do Comprehend Languages. Because you never know when you're going to get kidnapped by orcs, and you're going to need to con the orcs out of eating you. Unseen Servant, because he's lazy and he wants other people to do things for him. And finally, we're going to do Detect Magic for safety. Because again, you want to know what you're walking into, right? And that's a quick rundown. And I say quick rundown, it still probably took 20 minutes or more. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to run down how I make a character. That's a character. He's made. He's done. He's playable. He's got a bit of a backstory that I gave him, you know, ahead of time, which is what I want people to do. I want you to come here. I want you to be like, I have an idea. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to be. And I'll help you. Like, we can run down the options. I can help you narrow down choices. Like I said, when I started this, Simon could have been a rogue. Simon could have been a bard. Rogues are more hands-on than bards, so I went bard. Hopefully this helps you guys. And if you liked it, if you thought it was cool, we can take it further. I skipped alignment. Alignment gets looked over a lot. Let's talk alignment. So I'm going to tell you right now, Simon's lawful evil. On a good day, he's neutral, but most days he's lawful evil. He's going to follow the letter of the law as far as he can stretch it to get what he wants. He's not going to break it, Well, he's going to stretch it real far to get what he needs. And we can talk more on alignment later. I can do a whole big cosmology thing about alignments and how they work. But this is getting way too long, and I want this to be bite-sized, and I know it's not already. So, check it out. Tell me if you like it. I can do more about it later if you do.